Checkity check, 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 check.
I'm gonna talk about sandwich stuff. Cuban.
I'm gonna talk about the meats.
Cut it diagonally. Diagonally.
You got it. Diagonally. Diagonally. Hello, everyone. Hola. Bienvenidos a la noche de Cuba. That was the extent of my Spanish knowledge when it comes to Cuban dinner night. We're so glad to share what we made with you guys. Cuban food is so good, so delicious. Honestly, we could do this like 3 or 4 more times because there were so many recipes I wanted to try, but was not able to do because you can only have so much food in one night.
That's true.
So we went with some classics.
And we were full by
the
appetizer.
We were so full. The appetizer was basically a meal on its own. I ate about 2,000 calories.
So, I wasn't counting, so.
I was.
It didn't
unfortunately. We made some delicious Cuban food and we'd love to talk to you guys about it.
Mm-hmm.
First things first, there is literally a food called a Cuban. So on Cuban night, I feel like you have to make a Cuban.
Yes.
So we made Cuban sandwiches. I was gonna make these as small little portions of a Cuban sandwich as an appetizer, but like we just said, we basically just ate whole Cubans as an appetizer, and it was delicious. They were so good, very filling. All right, so the first thing you want to do when making this pork, first of all, make sure you pick the right cut. You want something that's a little bit more fatty. I decided to go with a pork loin rather than a shoulder, for example. It's a little bit leaner, and honestly, both cuts work, but this is just what I decided to go with. First, you want to cut it in half, and then you want to score it with pretty deep cuts. This is so that the marinade and the juices can get into the cracks when you make that and you pour it in there. So you want to make it diagonal over the top, and then you flip it upside down and do the opposite direction on the bottom. And then we took that pork and put it into our croisette. Any kind of oven-safe dish will work for this as long as you can cover it. So, and if you don't have something that has a top or a lid to it, you just cover it with aluminum foil and it should get the job done as well. You use an abnormally large amount of lime juice, about 2 cups worth. So I think this was like, I think I juiced
12.
like 12 limes. It was ridiculous. So many limes. You can use pre-bottled lime juice if you'd like. I prefer to do the fresh squeezed route. Takes a little bit longer, but you're gonna get a better result from it. So about 2 cups of lime juice, throw in some oregano, some cumin, some salt and pepper, and about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic, minced up real small. And then you pour that over the pork and make sure it gets into all the little cuts and crevices that you made earlier. So we left the pork in the oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 3 hours. And when it came out, it was very tender, very easy to pull apart, and extremely flavorful. And so it was perfect for the Cubans. Laura, would you like to share with us how we put together the Cuban sandwiches?
Of course. So for the Cubans, we used ciabatta bread, which was basically the closest thing we could come to the Cuban bread. Cut it in half, put mustard, ham, the pork,
ham,
and Swiss cheese on top of the bread, and we popped it in the oven around 3 or 4 minutes at 300 degrees just to melt the cheese and warm up that ham. And then afterwards, when we took it out of the oven, we added pickles, put the breads together, and then we put that in the skillet to kind of press it down and to make that Cuban pressed sandwich.
So some important aspects of this. Yes, it is very specifically, you have to have pickles on a Cuban. This is important. I'm not the biggest fan of pickles, but I put them on there anyway. It is traditional. The pickle flavor is very important, and it's important that it's pressed down. And so if you don't have a panini press of any kind or anything like that, like a George Foreman grill, RIP Michael Scott's foot, you can put it onto a cast iron or another kind of pan, and then you just take a spatula and press it down as much as you can. And that way you'll get a flatter sandwich out of it. Ours could have been flatter, but we did the best we could with what we had.
So we made a couple of different variations of the Cuban with different kinds of cheese. Some people wanted mayonnaise, some people didn't like pickles or mustard, so we just made them for those people however they wanted them.
These aren't the traditional way of making Cubans, but the primary components were there. Main course. For the main course, we made
Mojo
Chicken. It is Mojo, I believe. Correct us if we're wrong. I think it's Mojo. Mojo Chicken is a very popular dish in Cuba. Like I said earlier, there's so many that we could have chosen. So many traditional Cuban dishes that are incredible. And so what we did was we started with chicken quarters and legs and thighs. Just an assortment of those. You can use really whatever kind of meat you want, but traditionally it is the legs or thighs, as those are dark meat chickens. And what we did was we put those in an oven-safe dish with some onions that were chopped up, not super fine, they were the big thick slices of onion. And then we poured over the Mojo Chicken marinade, and I'm gonna tell you guys what's in that marinade. It is made from orange juice, lime juice, a good bit of garlic, oregano, cumin, and salt and pepper, and also olive oil. And we put this in a food processor and made sure all those ingredients were fully mixed and poured it over the chicken that was in the oven-safe dishes. We also had some in a mixing bowl because we had so much of the chicken, and so I had it marinating in a mixing bowl and then we poured it into a dish later. Once the marinade had gone on top of it as well, I cut up a few orange slices and then threw those in there as well. It's really cool to have those whole oranges in there as well as the orange juice that I put in earlier, just to give it some extra flavor in that dish. Once those had marinated for about 3 to 4 hours in the fridge, we pulled them out and threw those in the oven for about 45 minutes until the chicken was cooked, and we pulled it out and served it over rice with some chopped up cilantro as well. Oh, there's cilantro in the marinade too. There was also cilantro in the marinade, just remember that. And we also topped it with cilantro at the end. Overall, this was a pretty simple dish to make and doesn't require a whole lot of steps. Pretty simple through and through. You just make the marinade, pour it over the chicken, and then let that marinate, and then put it in the oven, serve it over some rice. We added some aromatics to the rice as it was cooking just to give it some extra flavor. Not sure if this is 100% Cuban, I'm gonna be honest. I just did it because I saw the aromatics and I was like, oh, I could add this to the rice.
You steered away from authentic Cuban?
It could be Cuban. I put some star anise and some black peppercorns and a few cloves, whole cloves in there. And what that does is really just add some additional aromatic flavor. Is that possible, aromatic flavor?
I guess so, you can taste if you smell. So after everything was done, we really enjoyed eating it all together until it was completely gone.
Laura thinks I say that a lot. I've never said it. I've never said that before. Check the tapes. I've never said that.
Okay.
And then you kind of eat that all together. Then you eat it fully until you've eaten everything.
So this was a perfect dish for our family and for friends. The portions were huge, so if you're gonna have a party, this is the ideal dish to make.
It was incredible.
So delicious.
Also, we had my mom make something. Mom, you wanna come in the video real quick? Okay, she made the dessert. What's the name of the dessert again? Arroz con leche. Additionally, my mom made a traditional Cuban dessert called arroz con leche. It is similar to some other desserts we've made in the past, like sticky rice from Southeast Asia. Essentially, it involves making a sweet rice dish as a dessert with some cinnamon. We made it with coconut milk because of some dairy-free guests we were having over. That is also pretty common in Cuba, and so it was also traditionally correct. I don't know exactly what went into the process, but here's some B-roll. Wow, look at that rice.
We added
some delicious looking coconut milk going in right now.
We added together coconut milk, sweetened condensed milk, cinnamon.
Oh, lemon zest, yeah.
And
lemon zest.
Rice.
Make that until it's thick and delicious. And then you eat it all.
Until it's gone.
Until it's gone. Until you've eaten everything.
Oh, we let it chill in the refrigerator for a little while before we ate it. We called it rice cream because it was National Ice Cream Day when we ate it, but we didn't have ice cream, so we had rice cream.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and following along. Cuban night was a huge success. If you guys make it at home, make sure you tag us in your videos. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. I went with a pork loin, not a tenderloin. I went with the regular loin.
I was holding it in. Samu, get me a napkin, please.